5.5 trillion RMB, up by 4.3%. Export was 5.06 trillion, up by 5.7%. The import is around 4.4 trillion, up by 2.9%. We have a surplus of 180 billion. The surplus is enlarged. There were several features for the performance of the foreign trade. We have diversified international layout, and we have seen bigger contribution from the countries along the Belt and Road. For China's export to EU, ASEAN, South Korea, and Russia, it has been grew by 40%, 13%, 7.7%, and 9.1% respectively. And the trade volume with countries along the Belt and Road has been enhancing. The growth rate for the trade volume has surpassed the average. The proportion has accounted for 28.7%. During the Canton Fair this year, the transaction amount accounts for 45% of the total trade volume. Second, we have seen a stronger vitality of the private business with a larger export percentage. The private business has continued to become number one for the major exporter. The export has been increased by 15.1%, and the proportion has been increased by 3%. The export of the foreign invested companies is around 2.03 trillion RMB, which is down by 1.1%. And we also have seen a 1% decrease for the export of the SOE countries. We have seen a diversified products. We have more exports in the mechanical products. The export of the mechanical products is around 2 trillion, up by 4%, accounting for 58.6% of the total export. And for the export of the integrated circuit, it accounts for around 27%. And for the 7 categories of labor-intensive products has shown strong momentum. The export has been increased by 5.8%. For toys, plastic products, and furniture, it has realized a growth of 3.9%, 17%, and 9.3% respectively. We have kept optimizing the trade model. We have seen a strong resilience of the general trade. For the export of the general trade is around 2.9 trillion, up by 10%, accounting for 58% of the total export. The processing trade has realized an export of 1.5 trillion RMB. We have seen a good performance of domestic trade, which has also contributed of the import. The total retail sales has increased by 8%, and the purchasing index has kept increasing in the first 4 months. The import in April has been increased by 2% compared to the first quarter. And also we see a greater number of the import of the bulk commodities. The increase rate is around 8.8% for the crude oil, iron ore, and the natural resources. All combined, these 8 categories has realized an import of 1.4 trillion RMB, which has contributed 2% of the total import of China. And this year, with the implementation of cutting taxes and reduced fees, we have realized a stable performance of the GDP. Even though some of the international organizations has adjusted the interest and we are facing with tension of protectionism and unilateralism, China has facing some downward pressure of the export. However, in general, China's foreign trade has maintained a strong momentum. Going forward, MOFCOM will work with localities and relevant authorities to fully implement initiatives from the central government to stabilize our foreign trade so that we can provide a facilitated environment for the business. The purpose is to form a favorable external environment for our companies to improve the quality of the foreign trade in China. The second information is about the online performance of Q1. In Q1, we have a good start. We realized a fast growth in the online retail sales. The retail sales in Q1 is around 2.24 trillion RMB, up by 13.3%. For physical goods of online sales, it is around 1.8 trillion RMB, up by 27%, which contributes 41% of the total performance of the retail sales of consumer goods. In Q1, we have several features for the online sales of physical goods. The first feature is that we have untapped the potential for e-commerce in rural areas. According to our statistics, for the online sales in the rural areas, it's around 35 million RMB, and the growth rate surpassed the national average. In the area of Tibet, Xinjiang, and the Hainan province, they have realized a faster growth, and the growth rate is above 25%. For the online sales of agricultural products, it's around 93 billion RMB, up by 90.2%. For the dairy products and the tea products, they have realized a fast growth rate, which is above 28%. And we also see a fast growth of the cross-border e-commerce. We have analyzed the key e-commerce platform. The import was increased by 40% as compared to last year. For the major resources, we could see Japan and US and South Korea has contributed a major portion for the online retail sales. From the perspective of category, cosmetics, agricultural products, and consumer goods has ranked top 3 in terms of their revenue. They account for 36%, 24%, and 10% respectively. And we also see a fast growth in the central region in China, according to our statistics. In Q1, we have seen a fast growth in the eastern, central, western, and the northwest region. And the proportion of these 4 regions in the total revenue in China, it is about 18%, 7%, and 1.4% respectively. And this year, we have pushed forward for a high-quality development, and the consumers have paid more attention to cost-effective products. For cosmetics and products associated with pets, we have seen a fast growth of the revenue. All of these growth rates has surpassed 50%. For digital products, medical products, we also see a steady and rapid growth rate. It is expected that this year we will continue this momentum for the online performance of these products. We will continue to upgrade the consumption and contribute to the green development. The third information is about the China's cooperation with Kazakhstan about the second regional cooperation forum. With the discussion of the 2 countries, MOFCOM will work with its counterpart in Kazakhstan, and we will host this regional cooperation forum on May the 15th. Kazakhstan is one of the or region countries who participated in the Belt and Road Initiative. It is also a demonstrating site for the cooperation in capacity. In the past 5 years, we have made various of cooperation in many fields. Those two countries have strong complementarity and its respective strengths. We have continued to deepen our cooperation and fully untap our cooperation potential. This will help us to elevate the partnership between the two countries. And we will continue to work towards a bilateral trade that is above $20 billion. We will continue to work in the area of science and technology, education, culture, and tourism. China and Kazakhstan will continue to reinforce with each other and explore new areas for cooperation. MOFCOM will work with the Economic Department, had already held the first session of the forum, which has received positive results. And the second forum will continue to strengthen the alignment between the two governments. Over 400 representatives will attend the forum. Two countries will focus on the Belt and Road Initiative, agricultural cooperation, logistics cooperation, and energy cooperation. The two sides will exchange their views and discover new growth drivers for the two countries. The fourth information is about the ministerial meeting for the WTO. China plans to organize the smaller size ministerial meeting of WTO in early November this year. This will help to drive the WTO reform and exchange views between the several countries. And we aim to build up consensus with other countries. China will strictly uphold the multilateralism and firmly support for necessary reform for WTO. We will continue to safeguard the effectiveness of WTO and will make contribution to an open world economy and a community of shared future for mankind. These are the information I would like to release. Now I would like to take your questions. From CGTN, we have been noted that the U.S. side plans to raise tariff on $200 billion worth of Chinese goods from 10% to 25%. And the U.S. president also shown that the progress has been very slow for the China-U.S. trade consultation. And what is the take from MOFCOM? And what are some of the countermeasures will be taken by MOFCOM? Thank you for your question. Recently, we have seen some comments from international community. They're saying that it is a tough job to follow up on the China-U.S. consultation. Indeed, we have gone through several rounds of consultation, and we have kept in close consultation. As of now, both sides have held 10 rounds of trade consultations. The both teams have made a lot of efforts for the trade consultation, and we have achieved substantive results. China's position is very clear and persistent. We firmly reject any unilateral tariff. There's no winner in the trade war. The trade war works against the interest of both China and U.S. and will not bring any benefits to the people around the world. We hope U.S. should work with China to meet each other halfway. We would like to resolve these problems through consultation and dialogue. On the basis of mutual respect and equality, we hope a mutually beneficial agreement will be made on this basis. At the same time, China is fully prepared, and we have all the capability and confidence to safeguard our legitimate rights. Thank you. Next question, please. Xinhua News Agency. According to the latest information, the Vice Premier Liu He will visit the US on the 9th and the 10th for another round of trade consultation. And also at the same time, we hear that the US plans to raise the tariff. But at this point, the Chinese delegation still visited Washington for the trade consultation. So what is the consideration from China's side? Thank you. For Vice Premier Liu He, he led the delegation for the 11 rounds of trade consultation. This shows that China has shown the responsibility and the goodwill to conclude the trade negotiation. We would like the US to work with China to meet each other halfway and address the concerns of both sides. Hopefully, we could resolve all of those remaining issues through consultation and dialogue. At the same time, China is fully prepared for any possibilities. Thank you. Phoenix TV. Last week, during the 10th round of trade consultation, what was the outcome? And what is the expectation from MOFCOM for the 11 rounds of trade consultation? Thank you. For the 10th round of trade consultation, which lasts from April the 30th to the May the 1st, the consultation took place in Beijing, and the two sides have exchanged their views on the remaining issues and the agreement text. Both sides agree to keep in close communication. As for the 11th round of trade consultation, we hope that both sides should work together and address the core issues from each other. And we wish all the remaining issues can be resolved through dialogue. Thank you.
Hi, we're from Reuters. I'll ask the question in English. The U.S. tariffs on $200 billion of Chinese goods are scheduled to rise on midday on Friday. Can you talk about specific measures that China will take to respond? For example, will China raise tariffs on the $60 billion worth of U.S. goods that were announced in September, or set new tariffs? And also, would China consider retaliating to any further U.S. tariff hikes on Chinese goods by different measures, such as setting tariffs on imported services?
您好，这个路透社提问，我们的问题是，这个美国对2000亿美元的中国商品的关税，将定于周五中午上涨。那想问一下，这个中方将会具体采取什么样的措施？如果这个关税上涨的话，具体是否将对去年9月宣布的这个价值600亿美元的美国商品征收关税，还是会设定新的关税？另外就是说，作为这个报复措施的话，中国是否会考虑通过对进口的美国服务设定关税？谢谢。
谢谢你的提问。
First of all, thank you for your question. As for your question, we have made a statement. The escalation of the trade tension works against the interests of the two peoples and the people around the world. China has expressed profound regret over this action. If the tariff rates become effective tomorrow, China will have to take countermeasures. If there's further information, please follow our official website. Thank you. Next question, please.
My colleague will translate to Chinese for me. Will Vice Premier Liu He meet
President Trump while he's in the U.S.? And what is the scheduled return date for Liu He to come back to China? Is he taking any concessions with him to the U.S.? And is China willing to make the legislative changes that the U.S. is demanding? And I'd just like to repeat the question from Reuters on what exactly will the retaliation that China is threatening consist of? Thank you.
您好，彭博新闻社，我们想问一下，刘鹤副总理此次访美的话，是否会跟特朗普总统会面，以及刘鹤副总理将于何时返回中国？第二个问题是关于就是在那个谈判过程中，是否中国会带去更多的让步，包括修改相关的法律，以及我们最后还是想重复一下那个刚才路透问的问题呢，就是说中国对美国的反制措施具体是哪些方面？您可否再说一下？谢谢。
谢谢你的提问。对于
Thank you for your
这
question.
些问题啊，我
As
试着
for your
回答一
questions,
下。这个
I would like to make a unified answer.
传出来的消息很多，
Recently, we have seen a lot of statements or comments from various
倒退、
platforms,
等等。
and also
中方
the U.S. side has give a lot of tax on China, for example, going
中
backwards,
方
etc.
重信用、守承诺，
However,
这一点从来没
Chinese
有变
people stick to our words.
一
This
年多
has
来，
never changed.
我们
Over
推
the
动谈
past
判
1
的
year,
诚意和善
we
意，
have shown sincerity and goodwill to
谈
advance
判
the
本身
China-U.S.
就是
trade
一个
consultation.
交换意见、
For
解
the
决问题、
consultation itself,
达成共
it
识，
aims to resolve problems
双方有
and
不同的
exchange
观点
views and build up
是正常的。
consensus. It is
关
common
于
to have
对
different ideas from the both sides.
有关具
For the
体情况，
11th round of trade
如果有
consultations,
进一步的信息，我们会
for the
及时发布。
specifics, we will release those
关于
information
提到的
in a timely
反制
manner.
措施的问题，刚才我已经回答过
As for your questions
如果有
about
进
the
一步的情况，
countermeasures from
欢迎
China,
你关注
I have
商
just
务部。
answered your question. Please follow our official website of MOFCOM. Thank you. Next question, please.
谢谢发言人。央视新闻记者提问，就是此前呢，美方称
From
谈判
CCTV
94.5%的议题谈判已经完成。请问
Earlier, the U.S. side has said that 94% of the topics, the agenda has been completed. I would like to understand what are the remaining differences. And does that mean that the 11th round of trade consultation will conclude the trade consultation
达
and
成
reach
协议
agreement? Thank
需
you.
要双方的共同努力。
We require joint efforts of both
极
sides
大的诚意，
to reach a agreement. China has shown sincerity and goodwill
相互
to
尊重
advance the trade consultation.
达成一份互利
We would
双赢
like to strive for a mutually beneficial agreement on the basis of mutual respect and equality.
开展坦诚、
For
深
the
入交
remaining
流
issues, China will hold a candid discussion with the U.S. side.
的问题。谢谢。
We would like to work together with U.S. to resolve the remaining issues. Thank you. Next question, please.
谢谢发言人 CNBC 记者特朗普也宣布
CNBC
在周日的时候会对3.2
President Trump has stated
加25%关
that
税，这样几
like
乎
the
所有
U.S.
美
will
国
raise the
从中国
tariff
进口的商品没有关税了。请问商务
to
部
25% on
同时
Sunday.
这
So,
关税对中国
what
进
is
口
the
的
response of MOFCOM? So, what is the
谢谢你的
significant
提问。
impact to China?
我们多次强调，
Thank
加
you
征
for your
关税措
question.
施不是
We have
解决问
mentioned
题的
on many occasions
方法，
that by raising the
不仅会
tariffs,
对
it
中
cannot
国企
resolve all the remaining
也会对
issues.
美国企业、美国消
These
费
actions will hurt the interest of Chinese companies, U.S. companies,
中
as
方的
well
立
as
场
the world
态
economy.
度是一贯
China's
的，
position and attitude has been consistent and
始终
clear.
是中美两国最好的选择。
We believe cooperation is the right choice
还是
for
解
both
决问题
countries.
的正确途径。
Consultation is the right path
希
to
望美
resolve
方
the
中
differences.
方相向而行，
We hope the
共同努
U.S. should work with China
在
to
相互
meet
尊重
with each other halfway.
通过合作与磋商的办法，
and strive for a mutually beneficial agreement and resolve the remaining issues on the basis of mutual respect. Thank you.
财经记者提问：有声音认为中国
From
现在是
财经
枪顶着脑门也要去谈判，似乎与之前的立场不符。
Some of the comments have been saying that the Chinese side is consistent and persisted to continue the trade consultation even though we are facing difficulties. What is your take? Actually, in delivering an agreement is the common aspiration of the international community. China has considered the overall situation and attend the 11th round of trade consultation as planned. By doing that, we have shown our sincerity and goodwill to advance the trade negotiation. We hope US and China to work with each other and make progress in the trade negotiation. China always believes that we should have this trade consultation on the basis of mutual respect and equality so that we can find a way to resolve all the remaining issues. China's position has been always consistent. We will not succumb to any external pressure. We have the determination and capability to safeguard our own interest. Thank you.
谢谢发言人。深圳卫视的记者，美
From
中
Shenzhen
经济和
Satellite.
安全审查委员会近日发布了一份报告，其中列举
The
了
US
所谓中国企
China
业如何
Economic
通过
Committee
多
has
个方法
released
从美国公司
a
那里
report.
获取珍贵技术、知识产
They
权
are
以及
claiming that
相
the
关知
Chinese
识，
company
辩
has
称这些中国企业所采取的
obtaining some of the
都是
core
不
technology
或者是强迫性
from
委员
US
会认为
companies.
上
They are
述
saying
情况
that
通常是在
for
中国
some of the Chinese companies, they are taking a very forceful measure to obtain those information. So, what is MOFCOM's response to that? Thank you for your question. And for China, we are very clear that this information are groundless. We should criticize on all of those statements and information. Chinese government support the cooperation and technology exchange between the companies from US and China. We have never engaged in any form of technology transfer. There's no regulation to force the US companies to transfer their technology to Chinese partners. For the foreign investment law, it has been stated clearly that for any high officials should not impose any pressure for the forced technology transfer. It has protected the legitimate rights for foreign companies. Thank you. Next question, please.
听前电视记者提问，关于本月9到10日
From China Business Network.
团是否比原计划的派出人数有所减少？
For the
那么
Chinese
中方代表是
delegation,
否包括企业高层？
will we have a fewer number of people attending the 11th round of trade consultation?
中方已宣布，刘鹤副
Thank
总
you
理
for your question.
将于5月9号
We have announced that the Vice Premier Liu He will let
与
the
美方进行
Chinese
第10
delegation
经贸方
visit
协商
Washington for the 11th round of trade consultation between the 9th and the 10th of May. If we have more information, we will release
这取
in
决
a
于
timely manner.
谈判工作的需要。
As for the number of representatives in the trade delegation, actually that depends on the requirement for the consultation. We will adjust the number of attendees for the trade consultation. Next questions, please.
香港电台，这几天就是
From Hong Kong Radio.
一些话，就是说中方在谈判。
Recently, we have been realized some of the statements
中方那边
from President Trump, and he claimed that
而且就是说
China has been making some revisions on some of the tests for the trade consultation. And earlier today, we have seen the Soybean Association urge the US government to advance and accelerate the trade consultation. We realize that this kind of position is quite different from the US government, so what is MOFCOM's response to that? As for your first question, I have already answered that. China has stick to our promise. This has been never changed. As for your second question, as I have just mentioned that by adding tariff, it is not the right way to resolve the current issue, and this will hurt the interest to Chinese companies, US companies, as well as the global economy. We hope US should work with China to meet each other halfway and strive for an agreement on the basis of mutual respect and equality. Thank you. Next question, please.
发言人您好，第一财经日报记者提问。日内瓦时间本
From
月
China
13
Business
日到
Network.
15日 ，WTO 成员将就新的电子商务规则开启谈判。
And from the 13th to 15th of this month, the WTO will hold another round of discussion on the reform. Will China submit a proposal from China? Will that involve some issues about the flow of the big data information? On January the 25th, we have an informal ministerial meeting to discuss the e-commerce in Geneva. 76 WTO members have signed a joint declaration on the cooperation of e-commerce. This joint statement is under the framework of WTO, and it will facilitate the discussions about the e-commerce issues between the member states. On April the 14th, China has already submitted the initial draft for the recommendation. As far as I know, we have China, Japan, Brazil, Singapore had already submitted the initial proposal for the e-commerce cooperation. We should follow the general guidance from the WTO framework and focus on development. We should respect the development rights for the member states and respond to the request for the member states. We will discuss the issues on the cooperation through internet transactions and logistics. We would like to build a more safer and transparent e-commerce transaction platform. China would like to work with WTO members to accelerate the negotiation on the e-commerce so that we could build a sustainable environment for the development of e-commerce and contribute to the world economy. Thank you. Next question, please. From China News Service, can you give us some updates on the consumption market's performance during the Labor's holiday? Thank you for your question. For the Labor's holiday, we have maintained a good momentum for the consumption market, and we also see a big sales in that time. For the consumer goods, we have provided stable supplies with affordable price. We have continued to upgrade the consumption of these commodities. And for the apparels, green products, home appliances, and the sports products, we have realized good sales during the Labor holiday. For outlets, supermarkets, and the online platforms, we also realized a rapid growth. And we also see a big growth rate in key markets in China. For example, in Beijing, during that time, we have realized a 6.5% increase compared to last year. For Shanghai, Shanxi, and Sichuan province, the growth rate for the retail sales has surpassed 10%. And we also see a robust market in the consumption in service. For example, in the area of recreation, tourism, sports, we see an energetic market. According to statistics, during the Labor holiday, the total travelers amounted to 195,000 people. And also, we have seen a 16% increase in the consumption during the Labor holiday. And consumers are tend to invest in the area of tourism and the catering service. In Shanxi province of Xi'an, we could see the revenue of catering service has been increased by 16%. And the accommodation has also realized an even 11% increase of its revenue. And during the Labor holiday, we have ensured a sufficient supply. There were many choices for the consumers with affordable price. For agricultural products that was monitored by MOFCOM, we see there is a slight increase for some of the agricultural products. For example, for the pork products, it has increased by 0.1%, and the lamb and the beef has slightly decreased, and for the eggs, the price has slightly increased. For the average price for the vegetables, we have seen a 0.5% increase. These are the information. Thank you. From CNR, my question is about the free trade pilot zone. Recently, we have seen a notification sent out by the State Council. And recently, President Xi has stated that we should open up new areas for free trade pilot zones. So what is the number for the newly established free trade pilot zone, and what are the locations for those pilot free trade zones? Thank you for your question. Recently, we have received the notification from the State Council. And also, we will provide the strict oversight for those areas. And we will focus in the area of transportation and the tax processing, etc. And also, we will focus on the development of the Chinese railway to EU. And also, we will also make contribution to build up like shipbuilding industries. For example, in Fujian province, we have shortened the custom clearance time by 50%. And since the establishment of the free trade pilot zone, we have saved the cost for around 40 million RMB. This will help to better manage the cost for these companies. And for the Sichuan province, after we set up the service counter and the free trade pilot zone, we have also largely reduced the cost from those companies. We have gained a lot of valuable experiences to develop the free trade pilot zone. This will help to inject new impetus for the market and improve the satisfaction for our people and the companies. Currently, for the free trade pilot zone, we have accumulated around 171 experiences. This will help us to further our reform and opening up. In the future, MOFCOM will follow the guidance from CPC Central Committee and the State Council and provide more guidance to the free trade pilot zone and implement differentiated measures so that we can achieve more visible outcomes. For some of the experiences, we would like to hold seminars to provide training and summarize what we have gained in the past and to achieve breakthroughs for the reform and opening up. As you have mentioned that we will establish more new pilot free trade zones at this point, we will work with local authorities to move along with this task. Thank you.
谢谢欧先生。有2个问题，一个是就关于伊朗，美国白宫
I have 2 questions. The first one is about Iran.
决定不延长对伊朗能源制裁的此季制裁豁免期，请问中国是否
And earlier, the U.S. has announced a decision about the sanction on Iran. I would like to understand China's position on this statement.
请问这是否会影响到中国和伊朗之间的
I would like to understand whether the U.S. actions will affect the economic cooperation between China and Iran. And the second question is about Venezuela. I would like to understand the trade performance between China and Venezuela.
出现石油引供中断的情况，谢谢。
谢谢你的提问。
Thank you.
实际上，这个我理解可能有3个问题。第一个，伊朗是2个问题。
So actually, you have raised 2 questions. For Iran, actually, it composed of 2 questions. For your first question, you are saying that whether China will stop getting imports of petroleum from Iran. So China has considered Iran as an important neighbor. And we firmly reject the unilateralism that was taken by the U.S. side. For a long time, China has started economic and trade cooperation with Iran and other international countries. So all of these cooperation are legitimate. And we should respect this kind of cooperation and protect this kind of cooperation. I believe this is the common aspiration from the international community. Iran is an important country to produce petroleum. The petroleum that was imported from Iran is very important for China. Even though the U.S. has taken some sanctions on Iran, this will bring more turbulence to the global society. And we will help to protect the legitimate rights of Iran. We hope the U.S. to shoulder more responsibilities and play a constructive role in this regard. As you mentioned about the Iran agreement, and actually the Ministry of Foreign Affairs had made clear statement yesterday. China will work with relevant departments to make the contribution to abide by this agreement. At the same time, we will safeguard the legitimate rights of Chinese companies and to make sure that we have a healthy development between China and Iran. As your question about the Venezuela, according to our statistics in 2018, the trade volume is around $8.5 billion US dollars. And in Q1 this year, the trade volume is around $1.5 billion US dollars. And actually, Venezuela is a very important country to import crude oil to China. And the crude oil business has taken a big portion for the bilateral trade cooperation. And throughout the past few years, the cooperation between the two countries has delivered real benefits to the two peoples. China places heavy emphasis on the cooperation with Venezuela. We will continue to cooperate with Venezuela on the basis of mutual benefits. Thank you.
发言人上海证券报记者提问：就近期呢，商务部
From Shanghai Security.
二手车出口的工作，然后想请发言人介绍一下。
Recently, we have noted that there is an action that's been taken by MOFCOM. It's about the export for the second-hand vehicle. Can you give us some data on the past few years? Thank you for your question. I would like to give you some updates on the regulation on the second-hand vehicle export. Start from 2017, MOFCOM has been working with 3 departments and regulate the permits for the export for the second-hand vehicle. For the vehicle producers, they have to obtain approval and certificates from relevant authorities in order to realize the export. And they also have to realize authorization to drive the export. With this regulation, we can better integrate the policy and the capacity industry, and also regulate the export procedures for the second-hand vehicles. And for this regulation, it actually meets the requirements from the market. But in the past, we haven't gave a definite regulation on the procedures on the second-hand vehicle. We have also focused on the new vehicles. However, from time to time, we have seen some challenges for the export of the second-hand vehicle. For the regulation on the export of the second-hand vehicle, it has provided a better guidance for the procedures for these car producers, so that we can better manage the vehicle industry in China and also protect the credit in the overseas market. And we will also take stern measures to those companies who has violated the regulation. At the same time, in order to ensure the quality and the safety of the export procedure of the second-hand vehicle, we advocate that all of these vehicles should meet the standards of the overseas market. That is to say, these second-hand vehicles should meet the regulations and standards from the overseas market. And we hope that these companies can self-check the vehicles to ensure that all of those export vehicles could meet the standard. We'll continue to optimize the models and the procedures for the export of these vehicles so that we can inject more impetus to the automobile industry in China. Thank you. Economic Daily. We have realized that there is a conference take place from April the 28th to the 30th about the upgrade of the pedestrian street. Can you give us some update on this work? Thank you. About the upgrade of the pedestrian streets, MOFCOM fully implements the deployment from State Council and the CPC Central Committee. We planned to upgrade pedestrians within 3 years in some key areas in China, so that we can make those pedestrian streets into a comfortable environment to boost the market consumption. Last year, MOFCOM has initiated the pilot pedestrian projects in 11 cities. We have also made concerted efforts to upgrade those pedestrian streets. First of all, we have set up a connectivity project. So by upgrading these pedestrian streets, we need the participation from all walks of life and also need the encouragement and support of the government. That's why we have set up a 5-tier-based working mechanism to upgrade the pedestrian streets. We have also set up a series of mechanisms to facilitate this task. MOFCOM focus on the top-level design and will work with localities to provide guidance and policy support. During the work, the local government will play a key work and work together with different tiers of authorities. By doing that, all of those measures and policies could take into effect. Second, we have also established an evaluation system which benchmarks the international standard. We have to highlight the local features and also set up a series of index to regulate the pedestrian streets. We would like to build all of those pedestrian streets which are enriched in the cultural background and also clean in its nature. Third, we have clarified the mechanism of 1+N. We think scientific planning is the priority to upgrade the pedestrian streets. We hope the local authorities will consider all of the facilitating infrastructure in order to upgrade the pedestrian streets. We have to better identify the objective for all of those streets and set up a roadmap and a timetable for the upgrade. We have also organized a delegation team to help for the upgrade. For the local government, they have paid great attention to the upgrade work. Within 11 provinces and 18 cities, they have included the upgrade of the pedestrian streets into their government work report in 2019. And also, we need to consider what are the experiences that we can learn from the first batch of the upgrade of the pedestrian streets. At the same time, we see a lot of key projects being implemented. During Labor holiday, we could see the passenger flow in 11 pedestrian streets has been increased by 90%, and we also see an increase in revenue generated from the pedestrian streets. Going forward, we will continue to choose more pedestrian streets and implement upgrade. We believe with joint efforts between MOFCOM and the local authorities, we can build more beautiful pedestrian streets with more business opportunities and cultural heritage. So these pedestrian streets will strive for the high-quality development and serve as a window for further reform and opening up and better meet the needs of our people.
I just have another question. Did you know in advance that President Trump was going to tweet about the tariffs on Sunday evening or Monday morning China time? Or was that a complete surprise for the Ministry of Commerce and the Chinese government? And if you didn't know, if you did know that this was coming in advance, why did it take so long for the Ministry of Commerce or Chinese government to release a statement in response to that? It was days before there was an official statement from the government. Why does it take so long to react to something that you would expect a prompt reaction to? Thank you.
您好，我想补充问一个问题，就是不知中方对于特朗普总统周日发出要加征关税的推特事前是否知情？如果不知情的话，如果知情的话，那么为什么会中方的反应可能是在几天之后？想请您解释一下。
谢谢你的提问。
First, thank you for your question.
你提的这个问题
As for your question,
我已经多多少少有所
actually, I have answered before. The escalation of the trade tension works against the interests of the two peoples and people around the world. And also, China has expressed profound regret over these statements. If the raise of tariff being implemented on Friday, China will have to take countermeasures. Thank you.
If
there's no more questions, that's the end of the press conference. Thank you.